Time to rally! Love Madison, Wisconsin's professional volleyball team, is on fire. Catch 2 chances to see pro volleyball action this week. Thursday, March 12th at 7 p.m. is spring break in Madison. Students get in for $10 with a student ID. Plus, another match on Sunday, March 15th at 2 p.m., perfect for a family-friendly afternoon. Y'all, this is top-level volleyball action. Get your tickets today to secure your seat and follow Love Madison on social media for updates.
Is there a science that explains God? What if the next great paradigm shift isn't about matter, but about spirit? A free lecture titled The Science of God and Its Power to Heal Us explores these questions. Speaker Nikki O'Hagan will travel from Ireland to Madison to share this talk on Thursday, March 19th at 6 p.m. at First Church of Christ Scientist on Seago Road. All are welcome. Visit ChristianScienceMadison.com for details.
This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, it's Thursday, so of course it's time to dish on Madison's food and bar scene. And we're getting into something sticky and sweet. The Maple Syrup Festival at the Aldo Leopold Nature Center is this weekend. So to fill us in on what's going on there and the process of tapping maple trees is the center's education director, Virginia Wiggin. Virginia, welcome back to CityCast Madison.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Virginia, you were first on our show back in 2023 when CityCast Madison was just a little sapling. So it's been a minute. The Aldo Leopold Nature Center has been putting on this Maple Syrup Fest, though, for many, many years. So tell us, why host a festival dedicated to maple syrup?
We love springtime, and it's just such a fun way to celebrate spring and, get everyone who's been in the winter, the depths of winter. We also love winter here, but also we love spring. It's just like a way to celebrate phenology and the changing of seasons and the goodness that nature gives us.
The passing of time. Spring is worthy of celebration. And then you can do this amazing, cool, fun thing. Can you tell us first, before we get into the convo, when and where does the festival happen?
Yeah, the festival happens, it's Saturday, March 14th from 1 to 4 p.m. And it's at the Aldo Leopold Nature Center, which is in Monona, Wisconsin, just past the east side of Madison. So yeah, we do it every year just as a celebration of springtime and maple syrup, of course.
The festival is a family-friendly event and a really wonderful experience for kids to learn the beauty and fun of nature, tapping into its bounty and sustainably. And hey, for attendees, it's free. So
it's free.
It's free. Everyone loves that. So, Virginia, what can folks expect from the event?
When you get here, there is parking at a City of Monona park. So we have a shuttle bus that runs back and forth between that park. It's like a 5-minute shuttle that you can take if you want to avoid parking here. Just goes back and forth.
Is it Winnequa Park? Which park?
It's Ahuska Park.
Ahuska, okay.
Ahuska Park is
I was
the
like,
parking
I'm
lot.
trying to know Monona.
I know. It's like 5 blocks from the nature center. They have a huge parking lot and it just makes parking a lot easier. And then when you get here, we'll have stations indoor and outdoor set up kind of through our whole grounds and building, talking about everything you need to know about maple syrup. There's taste testing, there's the evaporation process, there's trees that are tapped. We have ice cream sundaes with maple syrup for sale and pancakes with maple cream to taste. So lots of eating and tasting and lots of science and nature too.
And you talked about the celebration of time passing and the seasons. I do want to sort of anchor this conversation with asking, why is the Aldo Leopold Center specifically putting on this event? Like, how does it fit into the ethos of Leopold's legacy and famous land ethic?
Yeah, Aldo Leopold he was really famous for documenting when things happened and like the first flower blooming, the first bird to return after spring, the first day the sap is flowing, all sorts of natural phenomenon. And that has been useful for scientists past him for many years to figure out climate change and what's happening earlier, what's happening later, and just keeping records. Keeping records is a big science topic too that we talk about all the time. we love talking about nature and sharing nature with kids and families. So this is a great merging of all those things for us.
I love to hear that his notes have been helpful to scientists to this day in charting the effects of climate change. And we'll just say, what a beautiful man. I grew up in Baraboo, so the Alda Leopold shack is located right outside of town.
There.
Or technically, it's in Baraboo. But he's known for taking the time to smell the flowers.
Yeah,
but really
for sure.
honoring some contemplative space and journaling and giving credence to just being in nature and honoring its processes in a way that I feel like people could really use today.
Right. Like even just taking a simple observation is actually really beneficial for science, for your own observations, for noticing the world around you. Yeah, paying attention. We could all do better at that too.
Yeah, I only have like 3 copies of his book in all different formats, including one that's a huge picture book about Sauk County or Sand County and some of his poetry.
I think I have that one too. Yeah.
Isn't it great?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it
so
is.
recommend folks go check that out and just really get into just how his journaling has impacted all of us and can impact you. But back to the festival. Now that we've anchored in the land ethic and honoring our nature, Virginia, can you help set the scene for someone who hasn't gone and they want to know what it's like? Like, how many people come to this? What's the experience like? And what are some of your favorite memories?
I always wish I knew the scene based on the weather. We never really know until the week before, if it's going to be snowing the morning of or 60 degrees and sunny. So that's always a fun thing about the event too, is to try to plan for whatever March weather brings us, which can be quite variable. But it's a big event for us. There's usually anywhere between 600 and 1,000 people that come.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big.
That's big.
It's big. Everyone wants to come out and feel springtime. And there's stations set up kind of outside in our sugar bush area, which is where all our maple trees are. People can hike the trails on their own. We have some demonstrations going on, lots of indoor activities as well. We will be selling maple syrup from Maple Valley Cooperative, helps us out with that too. They bring in a bunch of syrup because everybody wants to have syrup and we don't make enough for 1,000 people. So yeah.
That makes sense. And you said there's tasting opportunities. Are there a lot of kids hopped up on sugar?
Oh yeah, it's a big sugar. There's a lot of sugar. We can do tasting of sap. There's tasting of syrup. We do a taste test to see if people can tell the difference between pancake syrup, which is mostly, corn syrup with a little maple flavoring, and maple syrup that comes from a tree. So we do a taste test for that.
The OG Pepsi Coca-Cola.
The OG, yes.
Yeah.
Pepsi Coca-Cola, pancake syrup, maple syrup. Yeah, it's always interesting because people are like very sure of their answers on that. Like, I'm sure this is this, because it's I think it's often what people grew up with having on their pancakes. And they're like, oh, this is what I remember it tastes like. But, different people do different versions of that.
Invoking memories.
Right, exactly. We do some like using a crosscut saw or a drill bit on how to tap a maple tree. We make little pancakes that we do samples of maple cream, which is like cooked down maple syrup. It's amazing.
Tasty.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask, it's clearly a family-friendly event, but is it still fun for folks without kids? I mean,
yes.
I'm in hearing that last bit.
Yes, we see people from all ages. It really is. It's for everybody. If you don't know about maple syruping or you're new to Wisconsin or new to the area, we get lots of folks that are just learning about it as well.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even recognize, even though I grew up here, just how big and prevalent maple syrup is for the state of Wisconsin. I saw the U.S. Department of Agriculture report that the state is the country's 3rd largest producer, producing more than 500,000 gallons a year, which is, very cool and connective experience for folks to have.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think about like New Hampshire, Vermont, like for maple syrup, but Wisconsin's right up there too. And Canada, of course.
And do you have any insights or history bits that have to do with the industry in this area? Like, what's it like today? What's it been like? I just haven't thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely, technology advances all things for food production and syruping. Back hundreds of years ago, people were hauling buckets of sap with buggies and horses. And now you can get a pump and it gravity feeds tubing right down to your evaporating pan. So yeah, it's just been able to increase production with those advances.
Well, it's such a neat opportunity for folks that can come to this festival and see the old way to do it, like traditional practices, and learn about the process. If you don't mind, can you share a bit about how to do it? Like
how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know it's a common elementary school experience for kids. I didn't personally get that experience, but what's the process like?
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple, which is cool, right? It's like an accessible thing that people can do in their schoolyard. If you have a maple tree in your backyard, you really just need a drill, which like a power drill, a hand drill, any kind works. And you can buy like a metal spile or a plastic spile. They're maybe $5 or $6 each. And you drill a hole about 1.5 inches to 2 inches in a healthy tree that's of the right size, maybe at least 10 inches. And then you hang a bag or a bucket. I drive through town and sometimes I see like a spile on a tree and there's like, the 5-gallon pail from Menards that people are collecting it in. So it's really, you don't need a lot of tons of fancy equipment. And that collects the sap. That's the easy part. The hard part or the long part is just boiling it down. So sap comes out with like 3 to 4% sugar. It's pretty like sugary water, and you have to cook it down, boil it down, evaporate all the water, right? This is like your learning of science, like the sugars stay in the pan and the steam is evaporating the water. So concentrate those sugars. And sometimes that takes a long time to cook down. You can do it over, like people that do it with production have a big pan, but you can do it in your kitchen. You can do it I've seen people doing it on like a propane, like turkey fryer, it takes longer, but you can do it. The other really awesome thing that I do every spring is I take some of that sap and I like heat it up for like I'm making coffee. And then I use that to put in my French press. So I put the maple sap in my French press with coffee grounds instead of water. And it's just like a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of maple with your coffee is amazing.
That sounds like an experience I want to have. So thank you for sharing your secret.
Yes.
Madison, meet your new secret weapon, TaskRabbit. TaskRabbit officially launched in our city last June, and Madisonians are already using TaskRabbit services to make their lives easier. And I know that's true because I have used TaskRabbit on numerous occasions, particularly for moving and setting up my place. From furniture assembly to painting, they've got a tasker for that. Simply download the app, describe your needed task, and browse profiles of skilled neighbors who can help you today. And you know what else is a huge plus? Their transparent pricing. You'll see the hourly rate upfront, which includes the tasker's rate and the service fee, so there are no surprises at checkout. And you can decide what works for you and what you're willing to pay. So what are you waiting for? Find your first tasker today at taskrabbit.com or on the app.
Hi, I'm David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, a podcast network that includes this show you're listening to, and also 12 other CityCasts in 12 other cities. And each one knows their city as well as your local team knows yours. So isn't it time we connected them? Don't you want to know how they're tackling their bike lane problems and housing challenges and sidewalk dog poop crises? That's why I'm hosting a new podcast called Your City Could Be Better. Because it could be. Every week, I'll chat with a different host in our CityCast network about what their cities are doing right and wrong, the weird things they're trying, and the surprising successes, so that we can all learn how to make our cities a little bit better. Listen to Your City Could Be Better on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Does the flavor vary from tree to tree? Like, what impacts flavor?
That's a great question. Some people can notice a slight difference, I would say, between like, I don't know if you've ever seen on syrup, they do like grade A, grade B, grade C. The grade B is like the darker colored syrup, like that dark brown color that most of us are used to seeing in the store. That's probably the most common. Grade A is like a little bit lighter brown color in it.
Pretty amber.
It tastes very similar to me, but some people think it's a little bit more delicate, and the darker grade B is a little more like robust.
Yeah. I read something about how temperature can impact the flavor of the syrup. And I know some fests do taste competitions in terms of looking at density and clarity. And those are things I just wouldn't know.
Yeah, there's so much to it. Like you could dive down into so many different areas of like maple syruping. Some people will tap like birch trees or walnut trees. Have you heard this too? Like birch trees, you can make birch syrup because all trees have sap. And walnut syrup is like a little bit more savory. It's a little bit like nutty. I mean, obviously nuttier. That sounds like,
sure.
Of course it should be.
I still wouldn't have made the connection.
Yeah, you can make walnut syrup. You can make birch syrup. They're not as like the sugar content in their sap is lower than maples. So it just takes more sap and more boiling to make syrup. Yeah.
I'm becoming more of a maple connoisseur just from this conversation, and hopefully everyone listening as well is getting something from that. And you mentioned this a bit earlier, but so the real difference between what you get in the stores that has Aunt Jemima on it versus the real deal maple syrup, you said is just a lot of it is just corn syrup.
Yeah, it's corn syrup. Yeah. I mean, think about what our corn. They grow corn everywhere. Corn syrup is in everything. So it's just cheaper and easier to grow, I think, too. So a lot of maple, we call it pancake syrup because it's not maple. It's maple flavoring, with some corn syrup. And it's good too, It's great.
Well, I appreciate you're not knocking it. And some people like it, some people prefer it.
No, I'm not knocking it. People like what they like. I mentioned we do the taste test every year, and it is so interesting. Like some people really think the maple syrup tastes better, and some people are like, this pancake syrup, this is the best. So really, like many other things with food, it's what you're used to.
And we started at the top of this conversation with the mention of climate change, or mention of, Aldo Leopold's notes still being relevant today and scientists trying to understand our changing climate. And I wanted to ask, we had another weird winter this year with deep colds and more recently unseasonable highs. So how does weather impact maple trees and their yield?
Yeah, it definitely does. We have done for Maple Syrup Fest, I will say we used to do it the last weekend in March traditionally, and we've moved it up because, once trees start budding out and getting their leaves, we are not tapping for syrup anymore or sap anymore. So we've moved the event up. We also have every year, Aldo Leopold Nature Center has between 800 and 1,000 school kids that come out to learn about maple syruping between February and March. So the timing of that is always interesting too. But the best weather for maple syruping is if it's above freezing during the day and below freezing at night. So like 40s and sunny during the day, and then dropping down to 20s at night. That's the best. That's when the sap flow will really start running. So we had that, in February this year, where it was that warm up where all the snow melted, and people were definitely, I know I follow a lot of maple syrup tapping groups and producers groups, and people, some people are tapping in January just to catch that first run. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's early.
I feel very excited and happy and all the warm and fuzzies hearing about all the kids that come. And it is such a learning experience. And this is a question that you maybe would get from a kid, but I think us adults are interested in too, which is, does tapping for sap hurt the tree at all? Is there a limit?
That is a very common question. With kids, we often compare it to like a cut, because we're drilling a hole in the tree, there's stuff dripping out, and the tree, like your body, will heal from that. So when we pull the tap out, you really need to take the taps out before the leaves come out and the tree starts budding out, because the tree needs that sugar to grow its leaves, right? That's what it is used for. So it doesn't hurt the tree. If you don't do it properly, you can spread disease between trees. There are some guidelines on how many taps you should put in a tree. Like if it's a really big tree, you could put 2, sometimes 3 taps in. We just do 1 on all ours.
Well, there's so many lessons for sustainability
So
there,
many, right?
and how to treat nature with respect. And
Right.
we can take from nature, but also, be considerate to how much we're taking and that we're still taking
Right.
care of them holistically. So
Consumption, right?
yeah. Well, this has been really fun, and it's so good to see you again and to hear about this festival. I cannot imagine how much glee it brings kids, and I need to get my butt over there. So before I let you go, Virginia, do you want to share just a little bit about the broader work of the Aldo Leopold Center here and the other kinds of learnings and offerings and events that you guys do over the year that folks should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, if you aren't familiar with us, we're a nonprofit for children's education and families about connecting kids to nature. So we have a nature-based preschool here for kids ages 3 to 5. We do summer camp programming. We have an after-school program where we pick kids up at some local elementary schools and they come here after school and learn about nature and play and explore. We have no school day programs. Yeah, tons of things and community events like Maple Syrup Fest just to get the whole community involved and out here. And we really rely on community support to keep all these programs running and getting kids outside.
It's just the best. It was my favorite part of growing up in Wisconsin is the schooling around ecological thinking, and what you're doing is so important. And I can imagine all the smiling faces at the upcoming festival and all of the sap that's turned into maple syrup that'll be enjoyed. So thank you for giving us the full picture, Virginia, of how it works, what it looks like, and what folks can get up to in a couple days. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
That's Virginia Wiggin, Aldo Leopold Nature Center Education Director. That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. Don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this episode with the sweetest person you know, or someone who has little ones? Maybe it's the same person. Just share it out. It helps folks find us. All right, y'all. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care and thanks for listening.